1 minute, sir. I am giving live session. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can we start, sir? Okay.
No, you give admit participants.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will start exactly, sir.
No,
Still three-
you wait another 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Still 3 minutes more, sir. I will
Yeah,
start.
no problem.
Okay, sir.
4, 3, 4, 4, you start. No problem.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Good evening, Shashidhar, sir. Yes, Shashidhar, sir.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, sir. Fine.
Yes, sir. Can we start, sir?
You start at 4, 5. Another 2 minutes to wait.
Okay, sir.
Principal, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Reshma, madam, you are the co-host. And admit the participants, ma'am. Kanchan, ma'am. The session will start within 1 minute. Participants are requested to wait for 1 more minute. Exactly, it will start at 4:05. Yes, sir. Ma'am, can we start, ma'am?
Yes, sir. You can start.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay. Is PPT visible, sir?
No.
No, sir. No, sir. It is not visible.
Okay, okay. 1 minute, 1 minute. Now, sir?
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir. You can just go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay, sir. Thank you.
visible.
Yes. Very good evening, everyone present here. I am Shokumar CS, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce and Management, Sheshadripuram Academy of Business Studies. I feel privileged to welcome you all on behalf of Sheshadripuram Education Trust and Sheshadripuram Academy of Business Studies to an interactive session organized by Research Cell and Counseling Cell on the topic Living with the Times, a practical guide to maintain mental health for teachers. Now I request Dr. Manjula V, IQSA coordinator, to deliver welcome speech. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am, Manjula madam. Manjula madam. Manjula madam. Sorry for the interruption. 1 minute. Maybe some network issue for the HOD madam. Manjula madam. Manjula madam. The ma'am is not there. Sorry for the interruption, madam. Please wait for a minute. Maybe some network issue for madam. Manjula, madam. Hello. Manjula, madam.
Yes, sir. ಈಗ ಆಯ್ತು sir. Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the interruption. So I was not able to unmute myself. So because the host has to give me the option. Good evening, everyone. Mrs. Vasanta Peter, today's resource person, respected principal, participants, and my dear colleagues. It's a glorious moment to extend my warm wishes on behalf of Sheshadripuram Educational Trust, Sheshadripuram Academy of Business Studies, IQAC, and Research Cell, and on my own behalf. It's my immense pleasure to welcome today's resource person, Mrs. Vasanta Peter, counseling psychologist on behalf of Sheshadripuram Academy of Business Studies, Sheshadripuram Educational Trust, to this interactive session. Welcome you, ma'am. I also extend a warm welcome to Professor Jairam, our beloved principal, Sheshadripuram Academy of Business Studies, to this session. Sir, welcome you, sir. I also welcome Shivkumar CS, coordinator of Research Cell, to this program. I also welcome participants and my dear colleagues to this interactive session. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. It's my privilege to introduce the resource person of this program, Vasant Peter, counseling psychologist. Ms. Vasant Peter is a certified counseling psychologist holding more than 8 years of experience in the field of psychology. Her experience is varied sectors like IT, schools, colleges, organizations, and NGOs. Has amplified her skills to make an impact in the lives of children, young adults, women, and others in vulnerable situations. Presently, Vasanta holds multiple career roles. She is a project manager at Pregnancy Helpline India, a visiting faculty at Sampurna Montfort College, a content developer for EduPair, and a consulting counseling psychologist. Our works involve training counselors and educators, facilitating seminars and workshops. Besides our passion for offering individual and group therapy for diverse age groups, Vasanta is passionate to empower individuals at homes, schools, and workplaces by helping them recognize the power of a healthy mind. She believes her profession as a counseling psychologist motivates her to be a vibrant problem solver, helping people reason out and transform and individuals with high emotion intelligence. Offering therapy is a rewarding experience for her as she witnessed client walk and sympathy out of traumatic situations and behavioral dysfunction. With a sound knowledge of psychological theory, her artistic interest focused on refining people behavior, promoting mental health, and improving quality of life of human beings. Thank you very much, madam. Once again, a warm welcome to you, madam, on behalf of our Sheshadripuram Education Trust and Sheshadripuram Academy of Business Studies to this program. Hello.
Thank you so much, Professor Shivkumar, and I'm very thankful to the principal of college for this warm invitation to be part of today's session.
Yes, ma'am. Now I request our resource person, Vasant Peter, counseling psychologist, to take over this session. The session is over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much again. Good evening, everyone. It's really my great pleasure to be here. And I find it really interesting to see the poster that says, "Stay home, stay safe." And here I am to tell each one of you that what it is like for us who we are not used to being at home. And how do I continue to stay home and safe, not just in terms of not picking up an infection, but how do I stay home mentally and emotionally? And hopefully, like professors shared, that it's going to be interactive session. So I'm more than happy for you to ask good questions. Please use the chat space, ask questions that are really difficult, and ask questions that are practical, so that you and I together can challenge, so that we can find ourselves to be in a better space, emotionally, mentally, and hopefully you'll find this entire session a very, very useful experience. Okay, let me quickly share my slide here. Okay, so today's emphasis and entire session is going to be on my experience of working with teachers as their counselor for over last these 1.5 year, ever since we heard the word pandemic, which was never heard of before. And I'm going to bring to you all live cases of different clients. You can be assured that all their identity is not disclosed, their names are changed, and I'm also going to help you to see that how using practical steps can actually be very, very helpful in terms of attaining a good mental health. Okay. Right. So if you all can see my screen, if I may ask you this, what do you see on my screen?
Earthquake.
Yes, you all are able to see earthquake. And which means that each one of us have experienced or seen adversity is not a new word to us, right? Which means that a natural adversity has never been new to us in our human race. We have seen earthquakes, we have seen volcanoes, we have seen storms, cyclones, you name it, and we have experienced it. Then my question is adversity really something new? Okay, now again, we have seen adversities that are more of a natural calamities that happen outside of us. We are not in control. There is nothing you and I can do enough to ensure that we all are protected and safe. We have also seen adversities that are very personal. I'm sure each one of you at some point in life has experienced grief, loss of a loved one. You have experienced setbacks. You have experienced rejection. You have experienced the whole scenario of juggling between children and house and spouse and financial crunches and job uncertainties, so much more. We all have experienced having to live in a joint family, the tension of people, the conflicts in relationships, the unhappiness, the moments when we all are cuddled up in our bed, crying, weeping, having a sense of loneliness. We all have seen it. We have been there. It's not new to us. Problems at college is not new to us. We have seen people, students who are unruly, students who are disinterested, probably students who are interested, and times when you felt like scratching your hair, and times I'm sure you must have gone to your principal and said, "Sir, do something about this student, otherwise I don't want to step into that classroom anymore." And times when things just seem that I need to rush with my portions. So we all have seen it. We all have been through adversities. We all have been where things feel so overwhelming. But somehow, to a very large extent, you all have come out as winners. I mean, I can imagine, and you can imagine with me, when tsunami happened, it was one of the greatest calamities. Probably we all were alive to witness it, but they have bounced back. Then my question is, what is different about these times? And before I could answer that question, I would like to take you through some case studies. And I'm just going to give you a moment and to just read them. Okay, just I'll read with you. This is a story of a professor by the name Ria. Again, name has changed. She is about 46 years old. And she reported that she cannot face camera. And this case has been very early during the pandemic. Now, for sure, you all will agree with me that my B.Ed education does not teach or train me to do an online classes, right? And then what happens to her? She finds it really, really stressful. Sometimes she has tried even practicing in front of the mirror. You know, we all humans are very, very conscious of seeing ourselves in the camera, right? And so did this lady who's about 46 years old. Eventually, she managed to overcome her inhibitions, having to face the camera. She overcame the challenge. But then what? Then she had to experience new challenges. And the challenge was about student interrupting. And I would like for you to keep commenting in your chat if this has been your experience. When a student says, "Ma'am, I cannot hear you, ma'am. There is network issues, ma'am. Ma'am, I can't see your face, ma'am. Ma'am," and the time you ask them a question to answer, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you were saying." Right? This has been experience of Ria. And then there was this professor by the name called Raju. He was about 54 years old. And he found it really, really difficult to pay attention while he's teaching and he cannot see the students. And most of the students chose to turn off their camera. And he's an expert at his subject, but he did not know that if students were learning. I'm sure as teachers, one of your biggest reward is that my student has learned. Now, how do I gauge that? How do I weigh that? Therefore, this professor, Mr. Raju, was demotivated. He was unable to have a personal connection with his students. You know, we as teachers come alive when we see students. How do I come alive when I see students behind the camera and I don't even see them? And suddenly this professor feels the world has moved on. He cannot cope with the reality. He does not have control over anything. Now, therefore, what's happening to some of the teachers who are not able to develop or get tech savvy? He was considering early retirement. Here is a case 3 of Mehak, Miss Mehak. She's a very young teacher, very excited, happy. Technology was not very difficult because she did her studies abroad. She was successful in teaching. She could happily engage with children, be very expressive and all of that. But this young teacher was living with her parents, and these parents had picked up infection. What's the immediate response? Isolate oneself, remain in the room. What is it like to be in a room? Traumatizing, helpless, not having any help at home, having to do all the household chores by oneself, having to take care of parents, get the medical help, the late night tension, monitor their oxygen level, their temperature, get them medication. And if all this was not enough, because she's young, what happens in our Indian context? We have to call them up, tell them what they should do, what they should not do, try the Ayurvedic. And what happens to us? We get annoyed. And therefore, somehow, she had a greater fear that with having to juggle all these things, she's going to lose her job, which was her only source of income. Now that's case 3. How about case 4? Now here is a person by the name Mr. Madan. He reported that in his middle age, he was able to adapt to the online classes, even though it was challenging at beginning. His wife was also a teacher and he had teenage children. I'm sure you can imagine what the scenario at home would look like. Wife is juggling, husband is juggling, and the children also, they have to pay attention to the children education. So what happens? There's conflict between husband and wife, and there's conflict between children and husband and parents, and who takes care of whom. And then wife is saying, why don't you come and help me? Hey, I didn't do that earlier. We all just went to work. We came back home. There was help available. There was routine. There was structure. There was no so much of chaos at home. Now, the stress is too much to handle. Even for this man, Madan, because he not only has to take care of his work, he needs to help his wife and manage children. To him, it seems very unreasonable. Now, very quickly, the last case, Priya, she's excellent in her subject, and and we all know that as teachers, when we do really well in academic, we hope and pray that our raise will be there, we get a good hike. But then what did pandemic do to our salaries? There was at least to some amount cut off, which I'm sure all of us have experienced it. And then uncertainty of times, we don't know what the education system will look like. What does it look like for me as a teacher? She's demotivated. And when I'm demotivated, I find it difficult to give my best. Now, she's a single parent and finds it difficult to manage with children at home. And what happens when kids are at home and say, I'm doing a session or a class and I hear my son in the other room crying, I can't pay attention. I will go to the room, shout and tell, can you be silent? Let me finish the class. I'll come back to you. I'm irritated. There's outbursts. So what happens to me in my house is experienced and seen by my students in the class. What's happening to her? She's developing an aversion, having to deal with children. Is it her fault? Was I prepared for any of this? I knew adversities, I knew setbacks, but what's new about this pandemic? And let me take your focus and answer that question. What's different about these times? Now, the biggest thing that you will agree with me is that this pandemic is what we call as a collective trauma. We all are experiencing it together. When a tsunami happened, it happened in one region. When cyclone happens, it happens in a region. But here is a pandemic that's covered the entire globe. Everyone is in it together. There is no space for us to run to respite. When a calamity happened, when a personal crisis happened, probably your relatives came to your home and they comforted you, they gave you a hug, they made you feel good. When an earthquake happened, there were these NGOs and the emergency aid that came and poured out, gave them all the aid. But here is something where there is no rescue operation happening. There are no people who are coming to our house and saying it's okay, it's all right, because everyone together is going through it. And then what happens and then this pandemic, this COVID has affected everyone of different age groups. And different sector, be it education and IT and finance, the vendors, the vegetable sellers, or name the children who are all excited with their 10th standard final year, or graduates who are looking forward for their farewell, girls who are waiting to dress up in these all uniforms, the beautiful saris, or the boys saying goodbyes, setting our hopes and desires for new job, being prepared. It's affected everyone. One of my neighbor who's about 5 years old told me, this was a last year story. She would come to me and say, auntie, next year I'm going to school. And that never happened to her. This 5-year-old never went to school. And her first experience of school has been her computer. And then we all, remember, like I said, when adversities happen, we all knew how to cope with it. Now, for example, when a husband and a wife had a conflict, probably a break where they would walk out of the house, they would take a lunch together, versus a teacher, when she had problem with her student, would go to the staff room and just share her heart with another professor, versus a problematic child, we could go to our principal and tell us, sir, can you help us? Right? Our coping mechanism to deal with our inner stress, adversities, anxiety was all well set. If I felt bad, I could sleep. If my children annoyed me, I could send them to school, and that 8 hours was for myself. If my husband had a tough time at office, he could come home. If my parents were not well, my sister would fly in to help with my parents. So we all knew how to solve our problems. And if we didn't know, we always had this external support system who have gone or been through those problems before us, and they helped us. Wow, amazing, isn't it? But then here is where we are. Everyone in this point of life are uncertain. You are going through problem, I'm going through problem. My student is going through problem, my student's parents are going through problem. My college is going through problem, my government is going through problem. My government is going through problem, my entire economy is going through problem. My neighboring country is going through problem. So everyone is facing what we called as times of uncertainties. We do not know what to expect. When pandemic happened, we hoped there were vaccines by September, and by December, Jan, we could reopen the schools and things would come back to normal. No, it didn't happen that way. Come again, there's a new wave of vaccine, new wave of pandemic. Were you and I prepared? No, not really. There was a client of mine who said that, ma'am, when I wear this mask, it feels as though someone has taken away my survival. I can't breathe. And then what's happening to each one of us? We are unable to accept this new reality. Having to deal with our own personal grief. I'm going through losses. Could be of any nature, any form, any number. Versus I need to continue to inspire my students. I need to continue to motivate my students. I need to continue to deliver my syllabus. And yet I know I'm not able to do it. It's tough. I'm trying. It's tough. And somehow my weaknesses are exposed. When you were in front of the class, you knew how to deliver the lecture. You knew how to answer those questions. You knew how to spend a 1-hour class in engaging with students. But now I'm prepared, but it's still not sufficient enough. Because my students are not asking good questions. My students might not even be listening. And I'm sure you all know this, that in communication, 65% is non-verbal. And then we are talking about 35 something to be verbal. So in that 35% that's verbal, that means I'm only speaking to you. And if my students are lying on the couch and just listening, the only sensory organ they might be using is their ears. So what happens to my other sensory organs that are not equally involved in learning? My learning is not going to be effective. My mere PPT is not going to be effective. My mere video is not going to be effective. So there is this so much of dissatisfaction that's probably set in all of you. I'm going to just pause here, sorry, before I go further. And what I would like to hear from each of you, any comments if you have. Can you all relate to this? Am I speaking what you're experiencing?
Can we give question time?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, participants, if you have any question, please raise your hand. Participants, any question, any problem? You're all teachers. Okay. Yes, ma'am, there is one question. Please, ma'am. Anirudh, please unmute. Ma'am, yes, ma'am, please. Anirudh Das is ready, ma'am. Ask your question, sir. Ma'am? Okay. Yes, sir. Dharmraj, sir. Dr. Yes, Dharmraj, sir.
Sir, good evening.
Very good evening, sir. Please ask your question.
Sir, my question is, how to rectify the COVID pandemic situations of online classes from the students' aspects and the teachers' aspects?
Sure, sir. I will take that up a little later when I bring in the concept of how do you and I as teachers come to a position where we can take care of ourselves and act as a bridge between you and the students. I will answer that, sir.
Okay.
Thank
Ma'am.
you for your
Thank
question.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam,
Yes, sir.
one more question, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Nowadays situations, how to forecast the protect of our human mind, the students' mentality,
Going to
the
do
regular
that, sir.
classroom teaching to online class teaching.
Yes, sir.
Myself, I feel that it's a very lagging behind to the online classes compared to the online classes.
True.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
True, sir. I agree with
Okay.
you. And again, I'm
Okay.
going to focus. Now, I'm just establishing what we call as understanding why this problem is so different. Why is it that I'm not able to do something about it?
Thank you
Okay.
very
Anirudh?
much. Thank you.
Okay. Anirudh? Anirudh? Anirudh?
I would like to invite all of you to just write in chat whether you agree with me. Is this your experience? Does it resonate with you? Well, we call this session interactive, and I would love for all of you to interact.
Anirudh, please unmute. Ask your question.
English பேசக்கூடாதா?
Anirudh? No, ma'am. Anirudh?
No problem.
Anirudh Das. Ma'am,
No
sir,
problem.
ma'am, one person is ready to ask in Kannada.
Yeah, please, I can understand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please raise your hand. Yes, sir. Because chat box is only to host, ma'am. Therefore.
Oh, okay. So can we make it available for everyone? Is that a possibility?
Ma'am, that will be a create problem.
Okay, sure.
So,
We will.
okay.
Okay, sir.
If
I
any
will-
message, I will read. Ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. That helps.
Okay. Anirudh, if you have any question, you can ask me. Devika, your voice is low, otherwise voice is clear. Okay. What is that? Sir, can you speak in Kannada? Yes, sir. Please raise your hand. I'm ready to permit him. Artik, please raise your hand. Jairam, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. Please, sir. Jairam, sir.
Please unmute all because few are there now. We can
Yes.
interact.
Yes,
Unmute
sir.
all. If there are different disturbances, let us mute. Otherwise, unmute all.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Unmute. 1 minute, sir. I will unmute everyone. One minute. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unmuted. If anyone have a question, you can ask me. Unmute and ask your question one by one. Okay, please. Yes, sir. Jairam, sir. Yes, sir. You ask your question, sir.
No. Let us
Okay.
give preference to others.
Okay. Okay, sir. Artik, please ask your question. Artik, ನಿಮ್ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಿ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು. Artik. Artik. Yes, ma'am. Already have given
Okay.
permission to unmute. You can continue, ma'am. Later on we can join.
Sure. Let me continue. So
Yes,
I
sir.
hope this factor is something that is clear to every one of us, that what takes this pandemic to be any different is for us to accept. And I cannot say that enough, that what has happened, until that we move to a point where we can accept and say that things have not been in my control, it's happened to me. Let me take you forward while I continue to discuss this, to understand as teachers, what are the areas that the pandemic has affected us. Okay. Now, sir, is it okay if I just leave it like this? Do you want me to do full screen? I think it should be okay. Okay, very quickly. Now, if you all could take a moment, just want to encourage. Okay.
Kumar sir. Kumar sir.
Audible, sir? Am I audible?
Yeah. Now it's your
Yes, sir. Actually,
voice
ma'am.
is clear.
Yes, sir. Maybe some network issue. Ma'am disconnected. Ma'am maybe will join within 1 minute, sir. Let-
Okay.
Sir, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can continue, ma'am. There is one question from Mary Joy, ma'am.
Sir, 1 minute. Sir, did you listen to the emotional aspect?
No,
No.
ma'am. No, ma'am. Please repeat it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah. Shall I continue, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
network is clear. You can continue, ma'am. some
I'm so
disturbance.
sorry. I should have asked you. Okay, very quickly. I was telling that if you could take a moment with a pen and a pencil or a paper, with the paper, of course, or with your smartphones and reflect on the emotions you have been experiencing. Emotions due to, say, I have been crying a lot. I have been stressed, anxiety, feeling of loneliness. I feel hopeless. I feel I'm going nowhere. I feel I'm yelling and screaming and angry, easily irritated. I can't be happy anymore. I'm sad all the time. I'm actually happy and excited or it doesn't matter. Just take down a moment to think about what's my emotions like. And remember, teachers, I just want to encourage you that this whole chart of self-awareness, what we call as an individual wellness, if you're able to rightly evaluate yourself, believe me, this tool is going to become so effective if you desire to use it with your students to identify how do they feel this pandemic has impacted them. So quickly write down the emotional aspect of it. As you continue to do so, I would like to take your attention to the intellect aspect of it. Okay. Now, intellect, of course, the biggest intellect aspect you all have become heroes is to learning to do lessons online. Effective, ineffective, that's debatable, but you have learned the technology. You have learned the learning management platforms. You have learned how to do so much online, which you were not used to. What about your interests? How much are you reading? Something that was a read for pleasure, what happened to that? What is it that you're doing to engage yourself in terms of developing your cognitive intellect ability? What is it that you all are doing? Okay. While you're doing that, can I take your attention to the physical aspect, which is the most important thing, other than wearing a mask and probably a screen shield, a gloves? How are we protecting ourselves? Not that I don't pick up a virus, but in terms of my physical activities. Now that we all are restricted at home, when we say stay home, does it mean put a big pause with your physical activities? So what's my physical activities? Is it restricted to house chores? Is it restricted to buying groceries? What are the other things that I am engaging or it's impacted? And I feel some part of me has lost. While you all take moments to reflect on your emotions, your intellect abilities or your intellect wellness and your physical, I'm going to very quickly take your attention to the social aspect. Yes, I agree with all of you. I can't meet the people I love. I can't meet my friends and have a chat. I can't meet my friends and have a samosa on the road. So what aspect of my emotions is impacted? Think about it. Not just the social connectedness, but even the social activities. Take a moment, eating outside, watching a movie, malls, long walks, short walks, any of that. Playing cricket, football, any and everything else. Enjoying your dance classes, yoga classes, all your social activities that got impacted. Even your environment. where we had a definite segregation between workplace and house, does your environment look like now? Your house has become your workplace. Your files, your school work. I'm sure if you have kids at home, your environment looks a lot more dirtier, things falling apart, lots of rearrangements, adjustments, privacy challenges there, environment, things outside of you, how clean, how bad, how shut, how restricted. And your finances are very important in terms of your financial. Assess very quickly, how has my finances been affected? While you do so, the spiritual aspect. Now, we all understand and know that this has been a time when every one of us have questioned our belief system, questioned what we call as existential question. Why am I here? What is life about? If I can't have freedom, why should I survive? I know people who have been asking those questions. Like I told you about a girl who feels always being masked meant I can't live life anymore. How has your spiritual aspect affected, impacted? Not being able to revisit the religious places, how does that make you feel? Again, teachers, I'm encouraging you to do a very deep self-evaluation. I wouldn't say evaluation, but a self-assessment to see how this pandemic has affected me. While you do that, I would like to take your attention to also very quickly understand that this pandemic has not only affected me, but it's also affected my children, my students. My students are experiencing the greatest loss of learning. Learning in the sense of not knowledge base, but learning from peers, learning from teachers, learning from social setups. My students are experiencing loss of a family member. We don't know how many students of ours have lost a teacher or a parent or a loved one, a sibling or a friend. I, as a student, am experiencing social disconnectedness. The friends on whom I depended on are not there next to me anymore. This whole aspect of virtual learning has also caused me to lose my cognitive skills like attention. I cannot pay attention anymore just looking at that screen. I can't pay attention. My memory has been affected. My creative ability is affected. I'm experiencing a loss of emotions. How do I regulate my friends? Where I would learn from my friends, I would learn from my teachers. I don't know how to do it now. And then the biggest loss of final year students are possibly experiencing and having to go through. I had a job in hand, but my company is not calling me anymore. I'm losing, I don't have opportunities for interning. Everything is, when I use the word everything is getting exposed, the fight that probably a father and mother had behind the closed doors is happening in front of them. They're getting exposed to things that are not good for them. So just like us teachers, where every aspect of my life is impacted, my students are experiencing a deeper level of loss. And I wouldn't comment on whose loss is greater, but I would like to let you know that as teachers, you are having your own personal losses. But in terms of your profession, you're also having to deal the losses that your students are experiencing, like I had mentioned, and that's becoming challenging. How do I show understanding to a student who's lost a loved one, versus my need or the requirement. I wouldn't say my need, but the requirement of having to complete a syllabus and expecting my student to turn in an assessment. How do I do that? It's stressful. It's very stressful, teachers. So therefore, I want to say this to all of you that yes, lives are disrupted, but there are some practical things you and I can do so that we can support our entire system better. And what are these practical things? Very, very quickly, even as you all have evaluated your individual wellness, let me draw your attention to the biggest thing which I have found in my experience. I can give you what the World Health Organization says about mental health. I can tell you what are the prescription by the biggest counseling centers in our country. I can tell you what are the different NGOs, organization, established companies are talking to you about mental wellness. But I'm going to want to draw your attention is this, that the greatest or the biggest guide to maintaining good mental health was what you did during this past 1 year. How you coped could actually become your strength of a good coping mechanism. So take time to evaluate and identify what has been helpful and what has not been so helpful. Very quickly, I would like to take you through this. When I spoke about how was your physical health affected, I'm going to encourage you to relook at it and ask yourself, how can I continue to stay healthy? We all know healthy mind, healthy body, all are so interlinked. If I'm not physically active, then you know that your brain is going to not work the way you want it to work. So physical fitness becomes very important, even if it means 15 minutes of exposure in the sunlight, waking up your body, doing some inside the house physical exercises becomes important. Bringing back your focus, you have identified which area of my emotional wellness has been impacted. Now you need to find out, how do I find ways in which I could build or grow in it. Also engaging in intellect activities, can't say this enough. Like, I thought it was very foolish for me to just try to solve a Rubik cube, but I found this small exercise of solving a Rubik cube so engaging in my mind that my neighbor kids started doing that. So it's just become an activity among my neighborhood. And playing chess indoors, something, reading something that's pleasurable rather than news that could be not very helpful for your mind during this time. Exercising your spiritual muscle, relooking at belief system, writing a journal that you're grateful for, how things have been so far, relooking at your budget so that you can handle your finances better. Yes, there is always a threat to loss of job, but what can I work with what I already know? And moving on to maintaining a healthy environment, which becomes not environment outside my house, but a healthy environment inside my house. Again, there are lots of practical tips and guides that I could talk about, but I'm just encouraging you to look at these areas. And the most important thing, identify alternative ways to stay connected with your loved ones. Now, before I relook at these case studies and provide you a practical solution for the problem, I want to just check if there are any questions that you would like for me to answer at this
Yes, ma'am. Mary Joy is Mary Joy. Please unmute. Mary Joy.
No, sir, she already answered this question in her slides.
Okay.
Oh,
I had it then. Now I'm clear with it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll very quickly take Anurita's, maybe she just wanted to share something, which she says
Aniruddha?
that, no, I'll just read it, so it's right there on the chat.
Yes,
She
ma'am.
says, I have gone through this phase where I'm experiencing extreme sadness. And in spite of my own sadness, I had to motivate my students to Anurita, I hope this has been a successful story, that in spite of your sadness, you were successful in terms of helping your students stay motivated. Anurita says yes, so that's congratulations to you on that. And I definitely know how that could make you feel. Okay, anything else before I talk to you about the actual case history, cases that I discussed, how did we arrive at an answer, and then draw a conclusion. I do agree with you, Anurita, that one of the research shows that this pandemic has increased the emotional stresses of a person, especially in terms of anxiety and depression, has increased by 65%, especially in this pandemic. So if someone is going through it, I definitely know what that is making you feel. Okay, any other comments? You can even ask me, just make a comment, or it's nice to use the space to talk. I just love talking with teachers, my favorite. And being a teacher myself, if you all were students, I would have said, can you all please turn on your camera for a minute so I get to see your lovely face.
Okay, participants, please turn on your camera. And also it's a photo session. And also ma'am is also ready to interact. Please, all of you, please on your video. It's a photo session. Ma'am, please stop your screen sharing, ma'am. Otherwise, I will not possible
I didn't.
to take screenshot.
I thought I did, sir.
Yes,
Am I
please
still
stop
sharing?
it. Yes, ma'am. Please stop it. Again, you can share. Stop
sir,
your
I
screen
stopped
sharing.
it.
Yeah, please stop it, because otherwise it is difficulty for me to take screenshot.
Okay.
All of you, please on your video for photo session.
Stopped.
Yes, ma'am. 1 minute.
So lovely to see all of you teachers. Thank you so much for turning on your cameras. This is the feeling we all have when we want to see our students.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just hoping that they are all learning on the other end.
Is it okay? Shall I put off?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sir, is it okay? Shall I?
Yes, yes. Everyone, please. Okay.
This is
Okay. Okay. No problem.
You're welcome to keep it on, but totally your wish.
Thank
Okay.
you,
While I just
All of you, please mute. Yes, I'll stop that. Yes, sir. Ma'am, continue, ma'am.
Okay,
continue.
great. Okay, so you are welcome to answer these questions, and I don't have to say this. Sorry. Okay. Okay, very quickly, what do you think? How do we think we could help Ria? Which aspect of Ria should work on so that the challenge of being annoyed by students can be handled better? Any thoughts? So how can a teacher who's getting constantly annoyed by students be handled better? It's okay to give wrong answers. and I'm sure you all have right answers because you all have been there. Okay, let me give you away this answer. Now we need to understand that this 46-year-old teacher, like I said, has not had prior experience, but there is something that she did. She was willing to make an attempt to get used to this new platform of teaching. So that's her strength. Strength number one, my willingness to adapt to this new challenge. Now, the strength number two, or strength number two, is also that she is also recognized that it's a challenge. It's something that she needs to work on, where children are getting annoyed. Just like the way our kids used to annoy us in a classroom, our children are annoying us on a learning management platform. So is there anything different about it? No. The only difference is that we can't see, but our experience is same. So when I told these teacher that how did she manage her kids when her children was annoyed on all those questions I asked her, the answer she gave me was that I would not show my emotions. I managed to humble myself. There are times she would tell her children that, yes, I can understand you have network issues, but can some other students support her? You know, just to find that, to find, like, you don't place your entire, like suppose one student is complaining that I could not answer your questions, then I immediately pull up another student to say, why don't you support this student in answering the question? So in that way, the kid is not using excuses, but the kid knows that I have someone who can help me answer a question. So this was a practical suggestion that helped her, apart from having to deal with her stress. Again, I can't say this enough, until you identify which area of my life is impacting me, we can't go forward with this. So with every teacher that I counseled, I first helped them to go through their individual wellness. I am aware that I lost a father, but when I am a teacher, I don't bring in my losses there, but I know that I can be there for my student who might have a similar experience, but I also can challenge them and assure them that with all your studies, there is a future that we all can create together. Again, very quickly, Raju's story, who wanted to consider an early retirement. Now, this particular professor had a biggest challenge of not being able to accept the pandemic. So my area of work included to come alongside of him to help him understand and take him back to the times when his father was a freedom fighter. So he has seen adversities. So bring it back from there, that you have gone through adversities where your father was a freedom fighter. He has seen through a lot, but in spite of that, you managed to study, become the best professor. Now, how do we make that happen in this context, with the only difference that it's an online? Okay, so I encouraged him not to consider early retirement, but just brushing on his skills of staying motivated with teaching. Mehek, who was a very young lady, always had the fear of loss. Again, bringing in the reality, her biggest challenge was that she's feeling very lonely, does not know how to handle things. Help her put a schedule, helped her to find her friends can call up and tell, how are you doing? Can I be there for you? Can I bring something home? Again, encouraging her to take up these self-help tools, but also to reach out to someone when you're really, really sad. Yes, I can choose to feel sad. I have my losses. Even as a therapist, I have my losses. As small as I had a baby during my pandemic. So my son is deprived, or rather I feel that I didn't have the opportunities to show my son to others in my family. So except me and my husband, no one gets to enjoy him. Of course, my neighbors do, but apart from that, so everyone is going through some form of loss. But the idea is for us to translate those losses and not bring our focus on the losses, but with what we have, to channelize that and see what we can build of it. Okay, so that's very quickly on case number 3. I want to end our, at least I want to conclude on the story of a drowning rat psychology. And I want to encourage every teacher here to please read up. It's an experiment done by Kurt Ritchie. So what he did is he took up this 12 domesticated rats. Okay, I don't think I need to share my slide at this point. So he took this 12 domesticated rats, and what he did, he filled a bucket of water and put those rats. What do you think happened to those rats? Easy answer. Someone? What do you think happened to those rats? Okay. Now, when these rats were put in the pool, we know that the rats would have tried to swim for some time, but eventually they all drowned. Right? And then he thought, okay, let me try something different. These were domestic rats who tried to swim, and they probably swam for 2 minutes and then they drowned. Some swam for days together and then they drowned. He thought maybe wild rats will be better. So what did he do with these wild rats? He took these wild rats, again put them in a pool. What happened? They couldn't survive for really long, and all of them, not more than 10 minutes, and all of them drowned. So this professor, Mr. Kant, thought, okay, what should I do now? He took a time to reflect and said, what is it that will make these rats survive? So what he did is, again, he took the rats, put them in the pool, and just before they were drowning, he pulled them up. So that's 2 minutes of surviving. Again, after taking the rats out, after some time, he again put rats inside the pool. And he realized that these rats, every time he took them just before they drowned and put them back again, the duration of survival kept increasing. And 8 to 10 hours, I mean, I'm sure if you read, you will learn more. But what I'm trying to help you all to see is that these rats also had the ability to keep fighting. We as humans have the ability to fight, ability to survive, or ability to keep going on when we know we have a chance to survive. We all build our resilience, and we have the strength to persevere when we know there is something for us to hope. And what I want to leave with all you teachers is that hope and ability to survive. Even as like I mentioned, so many losses you are going through, your students are going through. But how do you and I as teacher can continue to kindle that hope, help them from drowning, so that it gives them the strength to survive? Like a small example, there was this girl, like I was doing career counseling, and there was this girl who kept asking me questions on what does the market look like, and I don't know if I get a job. The smallest thing I did is I connected her to a friend who is in the industry of commerce. So her conversation with this friend of mine, to help her understand that there are more opportunities with her skill set, instilled hope, so much so that it now encouraged her to start building on other skill set while she waits for a good job opportunity. Now that's one form of hope. Now, how do you and I as teachers can give hope to our children who already feel that this is a lost cause? Okay, now again, having said that, I would also like to just share one thing is maintaining a positive mental health, coping with present stresses of life, and you and I continuing to increase our productivity and fruitfulness at work can not only contribute in my own individual wellness, but it also can contribute in the wellness of teachers, which is what I believe each one of us are looking forward for. Thank you so much. And now I'm open to taking questions.
It is a question time.
Yes, sir.
Just 5 minutes. If you have any question, participants, please raise your hand. If you have any question, even if it is not possible to ask question in general, you can contact Madam personally also. If you want number, definitely I will share to you. If you have any question, please ask here. Okay, ma'am, I will share your number. Maybe please provide the. Sometimes it's not possible to share their question, their problem in the open platform.
Of course.
If they ask your phone number, definitely I will give.
Sure, sure.
Yes.
There was a question by Professor Dharmaraj, right? In
Yes,
the beginning,
yes,
sir. Can I just answer that?
Dharmraj sir. Doctor, yes, Dharmraj sir.
If I'm not wrong.
No, ma'am. Maybe he's not there.
Okay, he's not there.
Yes, ma'am. No response.
Okay. So do you remember the
Please.
question?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, maybe concluding notes, a few things that watch out.
Dharmaraj sir question. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Jaram sir, please. Yes, sir. Ma'am asking questions. Dharmraj sir question. Jaram sir, please unmute, sir. Sir, please unmute, sir. Please unmute it, Jaram sir. Please unmute it. Sir, please try it again, sir. Please try it again. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yes, sir. Please.
If Dharmaraj sir question, if you remember, let her answer it. Otherwise, let us question. Otherwise, let us conclude. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
If
sir.
there are any questions, let us take
Yes, sir.
it.
There is no question, sir. I'm concluding
Okay.
this.
So maybe some concluding points, just thoughts, sir. One is that, yes, your
ma'am,
students
please.
are not motivated and it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay that they're not studying. If it's okay if they're not motivated. One thing that I've noticed has been the biggest strength to help your students is to partner with parents. I just have found that working with parents has been the only key to ensuring that there is a stronger learning that takes place. Again, you need to see practically how does that translate to. One more thing, if you can have like a system where you can take care of 10 students, set a Friday evening aside and say, let's spend this 30 minutes for us either to gossip, to talk, to just enjoy, watch a simple cartoon, laugh about it. But the point is to establish a connection there. If you are what you would do in your staff room during the lunch time, you just have to find an online platform to do the same thing. And also with the graduating students, introducing them to people from the industry has been very helpful for them to ask questions, learn what this pandemic is like, what are the new jobs. We all know that the government is working very rigorously, and even there is a lot of global aid that's coming in, which means that there are going to be opportunities that will be created. Again, the word hope, it might not be today, maybe 6 months from now, but do we want our students to sit idle? No. Introducing new certification programs, developing their skill set, adding to their portfolio, some things that are going to be really, really helpful during these times.
And there is one question, ma'am. What activities help with mental health?
Okay, so very quickly, please take my slide on individual wellness and do that with your students. And believe me, you will listen to stories and conversation probably you and I didn't guess. That's the biggest activity, what I call as self-awareness. I need to know what's happening with me. Often we come to a point, we say, I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know why I'm yelling, why I'm screaming, No, it's your body, it's your life. You need to know. So that's why that self-awareness tool is very, very important.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, sir.
There is no
Thank
more
you
questions,
so
sir.
much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Uh, Ma'am very clearly explained how we have to adjust to present situation and maintain and mental health for us and answer many questions and dealing with the personal grief and maintaining work-life balance became tough at the present situation. Definitely, we're going to solve it, ma'am, with your suggestions and the main important is faculty has to find the alternatives. The alternatives is very, very important. For every problem, there is a solution. Ma'am told very clearly. And uh, however, thank you so much, ma'am. I'm sure that we'll go a long way, but it's a very short time. By way in which understanding the complexity of covering the concept and thank you very much, ma'am, on behalf of our Sheshadripuram Education Trust and our college. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Now I request Professor Jairam sir, Principal, Sheshadripuram Academy of Business Studies, to address the gathering. Sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Very good evening to all. I hope all of us we got good input to balance our emotions, environment, unexpected situations, and more challenging to cope up with new virtual classrooms and preparations. All these we are facing a lot of problem, and all teachers are adjusted within 3 months in the last during June, July, August. Within that 3-4 months, most of the faculties and teachers were adjusted to new system, and still few we are all learning. Depends upon the how they are techno friendly. Based on that, we are adjusting, and still we need to learn more things to adjust and interact. And we are seeing many differences what we were enjoying in the classroom environment in offline and what we are doing in the online. There are many differences. Still, it needs time. Madam has given a lot of inputs how to adjust with the different environments, your daily life and family and other members in the family, how we need to adjust with these environment in the class, office work or classes, especially for the teachers, it is a mind work. So once we disturb, entire class will disturb. So thank you, madam. You have given a lot of input, but the participants could not connect with you because these are all personal problems. Usually they need to discuss with individually. They don't raise problems in our open platform, I hope. And a few general questions they have raised. For that, you have given a lot of input and answers. If anybody are interested to interact with you, definitely, I hope you will going to give the clarification to them. And many sessions like this we need actually. These are all reshaping and our mindset and our mental preparation and to meet the new challenges in the academic, in their life, in their professional, and new challenges are not we didn't know about what answers to be required for these challenges. We are all in that preparation stage. I hope many of them have understood. We need to prepare ourselves mentally, socially, physically, emotionally, intellectually. All we need to prepare ourselves. If teachers are prepared, definitely we can create a good environment in the society. So with this, once again, I extend heartfelt thanks to Madam, today's resource person, all our coordinator, HOD, our faculty members of the college. I congratulate them. Thank you, Madam. It was an excellent and good session for all of us. We expect a lot more from in this direction. Thank you. Over to Shiv Kumar, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable views with us. Thank you very much, sir. Uh, Last, but before that, if anybody want to give oral feedback, you can give oral feedback because many of participants are texting. Instead of that, you can orally you can give feedback to ma'am. If anybody is ready, you can please unmute and only one, not more, only one, any 1 or 2, 1 minute. I give permission to unmute. Anyone, please. Orally.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, hello. Myself, I'm Mary Joy. I attended this session from Saudi Arabia, basically from Bangalore, working here in Jazan University. Actually, I found it very interesting. You gave a very good insight, like you divided into intellectual, physical, social aspects, and it was really enlightening. Very good. And also you explained how to manage the situation, which is very much needed for us. And you were very energetic and enthusiastic. That's what I felt. You gave a very positive vibe, ma'am. That made all the difference. In fact, you didn't do it for the sake of doing it. I felt you're doing it from depth of your heart. Like you really wanted to help us out. So that way I found it really interesting, sir. And I also would like to thank the college for arranging this for us. Really great session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone? Another?
Sir.
Yes, sir. Shashidhar, sir, please.
Hey, sir. So, good evening, madam, and good evening, all the respected dignitaries present over the session. Ma'am, session was really wonderful, actually. Still, we are feeling that because of the time constraint, you would have still more time. You would have extended this particular session, and it was very interesting, actually. And in fact, you touched upon the various points, actually, and wherein we come across our daily lives as a teacher, so which can be inculcated, and every day, every session, whatever we take, it will be just like a problem solving for us. But you just touched upon all those points. Really thankful for that, and it was a very interesting session, ma'am. Okay, thank you so much for the particular session, and thank you, Shivkumar sir, for conducting this type of
Thank you.
program, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. A special thanks to Vasanta madam. Okay. Any more? That's all. Okay. You can give feedback. I will going to post shortly feedback form for you, everyone. Please submit it. Okay. Already is late. Okay. Last but not least, it's time to conclude the program. Now I invite Dr. Manjula, VIQST coordinator, to render vote of thanks. After vote of thanks, I will post the feedback form. Please submit, everyone. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of Sheshadripuram Educational Trust, Sheshadripuram Academy of Business Studies, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, and Research Cell, and on my own behalf, I extend my heartfelt thanks to today's resource person, Mrs. Vasanta Peter, counseling psychologist. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your insightful explanation, ma'am. Thank you very much. Professor, I also extend my heartfelt thanks to Professor Jairam, the principal of our college, for providing us an opportunity and supporting us to conduct these type of programs. And he is a backbone for all these programs what we are conducting. Thank you very much, sir, for supporting us for organizing such type of sessions, sir. Thank you. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to Shivkumar CS, Research Cell Coordinator, for organizing this program. Wonderful program, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I also extend my heartfelt thanks to all the participants, and most of the participants have raised their questions, and a few participants are not able to raise their questions because maybe some personal questions. So afterwards they can contact madam. So I extend my heartfelt thanks to participants also. And also, last but not least, I extend my heartfelt thanks to my dear colleagues who have attended this program. Thank you, one and all.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Okay, I request all the participants to
madam.
submit feedback.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Principal, sir.
Vasant madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent session it was.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.